Attention passionate Cleveland Browns fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Cleveland Browns fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been following the Browns this season, you know that it's been a roller coaster, and last Sunday's game in London was no different. It was billed as a potential turning point, a moment where Cleveland could finally get back on track after a rocky start to the season. And for a good chunk of that game, it looked like they might do just that. Dillon Gabriel, the young quarterback stepping in for Joe Flacco, had an impressive debut. He looked confident, poised in the pocket, and threw for 2 touchdowns with an astonishing 94.3 passer rating. It's not every day you see a rookie making such a statement in his first NFL start, especially against a tough defense like Minnesota's. Gabriel became the first Browns quarterback since 2008 to throw for multiple touchdowns and no interceptions in his debut, a stat that had Browns fans dreaming about future possibilities. But as we all know, football is a game of inches, and it's also a game of momentum shifts, mental toughness, and sometimes, just plain luck. Up 17-14 in the fourth quarter, the Browns had a real shot at sealing the deal, at putting the game away or at the very least, running out the clock. But what happened next is what makes this game so heartbreaking and so frustrating for Browns fans. Cleveland's offense, which had been surprisingly effective early on, just completely fell apart in the final minutes. They failed to score on 4 straight drives, and perhaps even more concerning was the way they chose to attack. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, decided to lean heavily on the run game, calling 8 rushing plays for just 30 yards over that stretch. That's an average of just 3.75 yards per carry, and overall, the running game just couldn't get anything going. In fact, Cleveland's offense struggled to reach Minnesota territory on 3 of those 4 drives. The one time they did cross midfield, the drive went nowhere after a short run by rookie Quinton Judkins and a questionable deep shot to Jerry Jeudy from the Vikings' 42-yard line. It's moments like these that make you wonder if the play calling was too predictable or if the execution just wasn't there. And that's where the blame starts to pile up. You see, Stefanski's decision to run the ball repeatedly, despite the Vikings' aggressive defense, might have been a mistake. When you're facing a defense that's been playing tight, sometimes a more varied approach is needed, especially late in the game. Let's talk about the offensive line for a moment because they also played a role in this collapse. Cleveland was dominating on the ground through 3 quarters, opening up big holes for Judkins and Jerome Ford. But that changed in the final quarter. Their rushing average dropped to 3.6 yards per carry, which isn't good enough when you're trying to salt the game away. Plus, offensive tackle KT Leviston was flagged for offensive holding on a crucial drive, which wiped out a potential big gain. That penalty, his 3rd of the game, cost the Browns some valuable yardage and momentum. Imagine what an extra 10 yards could have done. Instead, they ended up with a drive that gained negative yardage and resulted in a punt. That's the kind of situation that can turn the tide in a game like this. And yet, the Browns' defense played well for most of the game. They forced 2 turnovers and kept the Vikings' offense in check for large parts. But football is a game of moments, and it's those final few minutes that define the outcome. Wentz, who stepped in for the injured J.J. McCarthy, really looked like a different quarterback in that final drive. That's the thing with him, he's a veteran with a lot of experience, and he showed just that in that crucial 80-yard drive. With under 4 minutes remaining, Wentz marched the Vikings down the field, completing all 9 of his attempts for 71 yards, including a decisive 12-yard touchdown pass to Jordan Addison. That play gave Minnesota the lead, and with only 2:40 left on the clock, Cleveland's hopes were dashed. According to NFL's Gen Stats, the Vikings had just an 18% chance of winning when they trailed 17-14 with over 3 minutes remaining. That's a low probability, and yet, Wentz's final drive proved why experience matters. It was a masterclass in clock management, patience, and precision passing. It's also a painful reminder for Browns fans about how quickly a game can slip away, especially when crucial mistakes are made in the final moments. The fact that Wentz, a former first-round pick, was able to turn back the clock and execute such a perfect drive, just adds to the heartbreak of this loss. This game also raises questions about the overall strategy and execution of Cleveland's coaching staff. Kevin Stefanski, who has been praised for his offensive mind and leadership, now faces criticism for the decision-making down the stretch. It's easy to point fingers, but when your team dominates the ground game for 3 quarters and then suddenly can't move the ball at all in the last quarter, something's off. The Browns had multiple opportunities to secure the win, to put the game away, but they fell short due to a combination of conservative play calling, execution errors, and perhaps a lack of adaptability in the face of Minnesota's defense. And let's not forget the role of the defense, which played admirably for most of the game. They created turnovers, kept the Vikings from extending their lead early on, and gave the offense chances to close it out. But in the end, the defense couldn't hold back Wentz. His final drive was almost a clinic in how to manage a 2-minute drill, quick, precise throws, mixing runs and passes effectively, and taking advantage of Cleveland's defensive lapses. It's a gut-wrenching result for Browns fans who were hoping for a breakthrough, especially considering how well Gabriel performed in his debut. He showed promise, resilience, and the ability to lead a competitive NFL offense. But football is a team sport, and sometimes, despite a promising start, the final moments just aren't enough. Looking ahead, this loss is a tough pill to swallow. Cleveland drops to 1-4, a record that keeps them at the bottom of the AFC North for now. It's a division that's already tough, with teams like Cincinnati and Baltimore showing why they're considered some of the best in the league. But Cleveland has the talent, the coaching, and the drive to bounce back. Gabriel's debut was a bright spot, and the defense still has the ability to be a game-changer. The question now is whether Stefanski and the coaching staff can learn from this heartbreak and adjust their game plan accordingly. They need to be more flexible, more aggressive when necessary, and better at managing the clock in crucial moments. Fans are already voicing their frustrations and hopes. It's natural after a game like this. But one thing is certain, the Cleveland Browns are not a team that's going to give up. They have the talent, they have the grit, and they have the passion. Gabriel's performance proves that there's potential for this team to turn things around, but they need to tighten up those late-game situations, and they need to do it quickly. With players like Jerome Ford and Quinton Judkins, and a defense that can make plays, this team is still very much alive. They just need to find consistency, discipline, and the mental toughness to finish games. Now, I want to talk a little about the broader context of the Browns' season. It's been a challenging start, no doubt. But each game is a lesson, especially for a young team trying to establish itself in a tough division. The AFC North is brutal, with every game feeling like a playoff game. Cleveland's struggles on offense in the final quarter highlight the need for better game management and execution. It's about those small details, penalties, decision-making, situational awareness, that can make or break a game. And this game, unfortunately, showed that the Browns still have some growing to do in those areas. But there's also a silver lining. Gabriel's debut was a glimpse of what could be. The young quarterback showed poise, accuracy, and the ability to make plays under pressure. That's promising for the future. The defense, despite the final setback, continues to be a strength. And with the right adjustments, Cleveland can build on this experience. They have a talented roster, and if they learn from these mistakes, they can turn the tide. The AFC North is always a grind, but the Browns have the pieces to be a playoff contender once they put everything together. So, as we analyze this game, we have to ask ourselves, what went wrong, and what can the Browns do to fix it? The main issues seem to be late-game decision-making and execution. Stefanski's conservative play calling in the final minutes might have been a mistake. Instead of trying to extend the lead or at least run out the clock, the team stagnated. The running game, which was so effective earlier in the game, became ineffective in the fourth quarter, and penalties like Leviston's costly holding penalty only added to the chaos. The offense lost its rhythm, and the defense, despite their best efforts, couldn't hold back Wentz's final drive. And yet, despite all this negativity, there are reasons for hope. Gabriel's performance indicates that Cleveland has a competent, talented quarterback who can develop into a solid starter. The running game, led by Jerome Ford and Judkins, still has the potential to be a game-changer. The defense remains a formidable unit capable of forcing turnovers and making big plays. It's a matter of fine-tuning, of learning how to finish games, of executing under pressure. That's what separates good teams from great teams, and Cleveland is still in that learning phase. Looking forward, it's clear that the Browns need to address some critical areas. First, their clock management and play calling in crunch time need to improve. Second, they must minimize penalties like those by Leviston, which have cost them dearly in tight situations. Third, they need to keep their composure and trust in their abilities, especially when the game is on the line. Gabriel's debut showed promise, but he will need support from the coaching staff to help him continue to grow. The offensive line, which was so dominant early on, needs to regain that consistency and protection. And the defense, which played well overall, needs to be more aggressive and disciplined, especially in the final moments of close games. This game also serves as a reminder that no matter how promising a start looks, the NFL is a league where experience, resilience, and mental toughness are everything. Wentz's final drive was a masterclass in those qualities. It's a tough lesson for Cleveland, but one they can learn from. Every setback is an opportunity to improve, to come back stronger. The Browns have the talent, the coaching, and the fan support to turn this season around. They just have to stay focused, stay motivated, and keep pushing forward. And let's be real, Browns fans, you've seen this team fight through adversity before. You know the resilience runs deep in this organization. Gabriel's debut was a bright spot, and it shows that there's a lot of potential to build on. The defense remains a solid foundation, capable of making game-changing plays. The key now is consistency, execution, and mental toughness in those critical moments. The journey to the playoffs is a long one, and it's not going to be easy, but with the right adjustments, Cleveland can still make a run. Now, in terms of the division, it's clear that the AFC North is as competitive as ever. The Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers are all formidable opponents, and Cleveland needs to be at their best every single week. They can't afford to have lapses in concentration or play conservatively in crucial moments. That's why this game, despite the heartbreak, is a learning experience. It highlights what needs to be improved and where the team can grow. So, Browns fans, keep your heads up. This season isn't over yet. There's still plenty of football to be played, and the potential for a comeback is real. Gabriel's debut shows that the future might just be brighter than we thought, and the defense still has the ability to carry the team when needed. All they need is to tighten up, stay disciplined, and trust in their abilities. The AFC North will continue to be a dogfight, but Cleveland has the talent and the heart to stay in the fight. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize that this game, as painful as it was, is part of the growth process for this team. Every team faces adversity, and how they respond defines their season. The Browns have shown flashes of brilliance, but now they need to learn how to close out games. The coaching staff, led by Stefanski, has to be more aggressive and adaptable, especially in those final minutes. And players like Gabriel, Jerome Ford, and Judkins need to keep pushing, keep developing, and keep fighting. Because that's what Browns football is all about: resilience, grit, and never giving up, no matter how tough the road gets. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this game? Do you believe that this loss is just a temporary setback, or are there deeper issues to address? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, more analysis, and more of that Browns passion you love. Stay strong, keep the faith, and let's keep supporting our team through thick and thin. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, this isn't just a game, it's our team, and we're in this together.